Welcome back to Listen Football TV. This is the United Talk. It's been a while since I've been away for a while. I haven't been doing this for a while, partly to a lot of things, but I'm back now, and yeah, man, we've got ourselves a huge show on the way, and this one is actually the 5 things that Ten Hag could be doing at that obviously the 5 things that Ten Hag should do at Man United if he wants to be successful. These 5 things are fundamental to his success. If he does not apply these 5 things, I think he will not be successful here, because these 5 things specifically they address every situation that has that is currently not allowing the club to be where it needs to be. And these situations basically for the last I'd say the last 5 to 10 years have been creeping in. Even during Sir Alex Ferguson's time, they've been an issue, but obviously due to him being successful with Man United at the time, I'd say they were more or less masked. So I'll be looking at these 5 things, and I want everyone to pay attention to these 5 things, because today we're gonna learn a lot more about football in terms of the administration behind it. A lot of times we speak about football, the football that's happening on the pitch, your results, what the team could have done better. But this is a dissection as to what happens behind the running of football clubs, because I feel like this is a topic that a lot of us don't touch upon. I've been here with Mameni Young a lot of times. I've been here with a couple of my guests before, but we've never really got into detail as to what really happens behind the scenes at football levels, and what makes football clubs tick and be successful on the pitch. So I'm going to start with the first one. The first thing that Ten Hag would need to do to become very successful obviously at Man United. But one of the first things he needs to get right, he needs to come in here. He needs to obviously take heed of what Ralph Rangnick tells him. Obviously, he can't follow completely as to what Ralph tells him. He needs to find it out himself. He needs to see if he can work with this or he can't work with that. That has to be from him, because there are two different types of personalities, obviously, and they're not really the same personality, but they all want to be successful. So that's a common goal from the get-go. So I'd say the first thing he needs to learn, he needs to obviously come in. He's already doing that, obviously. He's already coming in, getting to know players, even those who are departing. And that's actually smart, because there's no better person to tell you than a player who's departing what is wrong in the football club and why they're leaving and so and so. That way you get your information a lot more quicker, and you can address things even before you even step foot into your office. So the first thing he needs to learn, he needs to know who's causing the troubles, who's doing the leaks, to the press, obviously, whenever things go wrong, who leaks the starting 11, because that's been an ongoing problem at Man United. So who's doing the leaks, I'd say that, yeah, who's doing the leaks, speaking to the press, and which players are troublemakers, basically in the changing room. And he needs to know which cliques are problems, and then how he's gonna make everyone work together. Because at the moment, Ralph even said it, came out in his interview where he said he doesn't think that the team plays for each other. He doesn't think that these players play for each other. So what are we getting essentially from that? It means that there's division. So this division that people thought that we're all making up in our heads is actually there, and we can see it in the pitch. It affects the performances. Look, we're not saying you shouldn't. There's no way you cannot get along. Obviously, you cannot. Not everyone's gonna get along. It is what it is. There's no football club where everyone gets along. Behind the scenes, they probably don't get along, but on the pitch, they do. That's the most important thing. On the pitch, they all need to, like, just like Cristiano Ronaldo said, that him and Bale off the pitch were not friends, and Benzema, they were not at each other's. They were not. It was not a problem for them not being at each other's parties or houses or whatever, having dinner together. That didn't matter. What mattered is them coming onto the pitch and producing results. That's professionalism. That's what mattered. So this thing of, people thinking that players gotta get along behind the scenes, they don't have to. Real Madrid became the most successful team in history, but the players didn't even get along off the pitch. It's all about putting aside your grievances against each other on the pitch and working together and getting to that goal, because that's what Ten Hag is gonna try and do. That's the first thing he needs to try and do. And obviously, a second thing would be to end player power. So how do you end player power? I'm going to get to the next point, obviously. You end player power by obviously retaining support from your board, making sure that you have a sporting director that's close to you, that's going to obviously help you have the power and say as to which players go and which players stay. If players see a manager already has this much power, they're not going to go against him. It's natural. It's a natural selection. They already see that he has so much power. If I do this, I do that, I'm going to get kicked out. Because the reason why a lot of our managers failed, your Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came in, he thought it was cool to be friends with players. He thought it was cool to wrap his arms around players. There's nothing wrong with wrapping around your arms around players, but you need to establish the professionalism from the get-go that I'm the manager, you're the player. He didn't have that. Everyone was mates. Everyone was happy. Even when we lost, I felt that there was no such thing as accountability. So that needs to be established in the organization. So the second thing, obviously, is to end player power. And by doing so, he needs to have the say into who's coming and who's going. That's rule number one. Him and the sporting director need to have that kind of power to determine who comes in and who goes. That way, you establish a healthy environment, and and it's much more structurable, because players will know who's on top and who's at the bottom. They'll know their role, because at the moment, the problem is it's player power. The board has given these players licenses to go even beyond the manager, to air their grievances. And that's not allowed. That should never be allowed. It's like a low-level manager, or should I say a low-level worker in an organization, goes beyond the HR, your HR managers, and anyone else who deals with work-related issues, and goes straight to a board member. And then what does that do to the organization? You understand? There has to be policies. There has to be ways and channels that are created where these guys have to go and air their grievances to the human resource, which are your middlemen, basically your middle managers in an organization. And this is what we don't have at Man United. We basically have players going straight to the board members and saying, we don't like this coach, we want him to go. You don't see that happening at the most successful teams around the globe, because there's a structure, and that needs to be established. And I hope Ten Hag has already written this into his contract, that I will not have players coming and undermining me, because the minute they undermine me, then everything goes tits up. Thirdly, I'd go with Ten Hag would have to promote the youth. And I'm not saying that you send everyone in. When we say promote the youth, we're talking about guys who are on loan personally right now, who come from our development but have never had first team appearances. Someone like your Ghana, someone like your Pelestri, and Ahmad obviously is another one, but he needs to promote one of these guys. These players need a chance, and preseason is the perfect time to actually introduce them and give them the platform for them to see if they can be part of the first team squad, or they need to get another loan. Personally, I think Ghana is ready. He's been on loan. He's played at Nottingham Forest for 2 seasons. So he needs to come back into and then be included in the first team. Um, Obviously, there's guys like Pelestri. Pelestri didn't have a good loan spell, sort of in his last 6 months of the season. His loan spell at Alvarez didn't go quite well. That's another problem. But all in all, we'll see. But he's already playing first team. He's already playing for the Uruguay national team. So why not give him a chance? If they could see something in him, then there has to be something there that's worth exploring. But knowing Ten Hag, he's a good manager and getting the best out of a lot of players. He squeezes the talent out of a lot of players, which is something Sir Alex had. So I think that might work out in terms of that. So personally, who do I think needs to be promoted? Forget what Ten Hag is going to do. Personally, what I think he should promote Ghana. He should bring in Pelestri as well. Ahmad needs to go on loan. I already established this with Saeed. Ahmad Diallo needs to go on loan again because he failed at the Rangers trial, obviously. So he needs to go out on loan to a team that's placed similarly to us. And yeah, third point, obviously he needs to make sure that he lets go of the right players and he brings through the right players as well. So transfers are very important. The incomings and outgoings are very important in this build because he knows his style of play already. We already know what his style of play is, and it's not tiki-taka as most people think it is. It's not. It's a lot more direct. It's a lot more bordering towards the German attack style of football. But it's all about position, and it's all about quick, direct attack. So he needs to find players who are good on the ball, players who are very comfortable on the ball, who have self-awareness, who know wherever they are, who are very systematic, because he's a very systematic manager. So he needs players that need to understand their roles. We don't want players doing their own thing on the pitch. He needs a set of team where every individual on the pitch understands their role. Because what we've been seeing for the past few years at Man United, we've seen players come out, have all this training, they train almost every day, but they come on the pitch, come match day, they look like total strangers on the pitch, as if they've never trained, they haven't been training before with each other. Meanwhile, they've been training for like 2 years or 3 years together. So that's unacceptable at any level. In the first 6 months, I would like to see us already having a style of play. In the first, that's why I say 3 to 6 months. That's what it should take you to be able to see that we have a style of play or not. So that's another thing he needs to get. He needs to make sure that he brings in, he replaces the players that are going, obviously, with the right personnel and the right players that will fit his style of play. And that's ultimately going to end. That connects with the second point that I just mentioned, funny enough. The thing where I said end player power. That was my second point. The third point literally links the second point. So how do you do that? When you let go of players who are a problem in the dressing room, you get a new whole bunch of players whom you can groom, and you can easily get your ideologies across to them a lot more quicker than as opposed to players who've played under 2 or 3 different other managers. These are your players. You've brought them through. You understand? You've brought them through. So the respect and level of trust is gonna be there, more or less, So getting his own team is essential. And this is why I suggest that he needs to get 5 or 6 players. We need an outgoing of 12 players. He needs to get in 5 or 6 in the transfer window. That's non-negotiable at any level. Our 6 players are out of contract, by the way. 6 players are out of contract on their own. And that's not counting the ones that need to be sold. So it's a lot of business and it's a lot of pressure for him, because this is the shortest, probably the most shortest summer window we're going to have in recent history because of the World Cup. The season starts a lot more earlier. So the transfer business needs to be done swiftly. It's gonna be a huge major surgery. Like even Ralph reiterated this a lot, that it's gonna be a very, very difficult summer. So he needs to make sure that he gets the incomings and outgoings right. And this board needs to support it. That's the most fundamental thing. Now, the fourth thing, once you've established your style of play with the first team, you need to make sure that your development side adheres to the same style of play as the first team, so that promotion, players coming from development and trying to integrate them into the first team is going to be a lot more easier. That process is going to be a lot more easier because they already understand the fundamentals of what it takes to play for the first team. If this is the reason why the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, obviously Ajax Amsterdam themselves, as well as other teams like your Dortmund and all, this is why they find it so easy to integrate youngsters into the first team, because the first team plays like the development side. There's no difference. The only difference is that obviously it's a higher level of football, obviously, like without even answering that. But besides that, it's the integration process is a lot more easier as opposed to bringing in someone who doesn't know the style of play and you have to start all over and have to coach it through to them. Whereas if the youngsters understand the style of play that the first team is playing, then it's going to be very easy to integrate the young players into the first team. That's what he needs to establish. That's the fourth point. And it's pretty much easy, guys. At any level and any club or in any ways of grooming people, whether it's in business or whether it's in whatever, they have to know how things work up there. So you instill, or rather give the younger ones a taste of how things are in the first side of things. You understand? In the highest part of things. And that's how integration becomes very easy. The last and fifth point, for things that the things that Ten Hag needs to do to make Man United successful. I think the last one is pretty much simple. He needs to pick leaders within that team. The leadership is very important. And another thing, it's not just leadership, but it's also in terms of, because I think I could fit 2 points in this fifth point. It's leadership and the wage structure. Believe it or not, the wage structure affects all other 4 points that I've mentioned before this one. The wage structure, these players are overpaid first and foremost. Like without even mentioning anything else, they overpaid and they're producing so little. So where is the problem? The behavior is the problem. The behavior stems from the board. The board keeps rewarding these players with huge wages when they haven't done anything for the team. Look, from an individual's perspective, people will say, oh, but this player, like so and so, for example, I could use Bruno Fernandes, for example. What has he won Man United? I love Bruno as a player, but can a person name me what has he won for Man United? What deemed him, the right to be getting 250K in a week? He's earning more than Mohamed Salah, by the way. Mohamed Salah is the PFA Player of the Year, reigning PFA Player of the Year. But somehow, you got your Bruno Fernandes from Man United, who's hardly won any trophies for us. Yes, he has good individual performances, but he should not be warranting that kind of money. That's what needs to be fixed. The wage structure starts first, because I can understand us getting the right players, making sure that we get rid of the right players, and then we're bringing in the right players. But if we're still going to give them high wages before they even land here at this club, before they prove themselves at this club, before they win us trophies, then this whole process is all for nothing. That's why I made this the fifth point, because it all undermines all the rest of the points that I've already mentioned. Wage structure is very important. We've got 10 players, by the way. If no one has actually researched this, we've got 10 players out of 30 that are the most paid in the Premier League. That's shocking. When last did we win the Premier League trophy? When last did we win the league? When last did we challenge for it? You see, this is where I'm saying that this is the most fundamental one. This is the most fundamental one, because you can bring in a youth player, but if you throw him with a lot of money straight from the bet, everything's going to deteriorate. He's going to go down. Look at Rashford. Look at all of these other guys who think that, you know, they've made it at Man United. They haven't even done anything for us, but they're getting all these high wages for what? They think they're bigger than they already are. And that stems from the board. That stems from the board. That's why Ten Hag needs to come in here, and Ralph Rangnick behind the scenes, and a sporting director in Paul Mitchell, hopefully, comes in and tells your Matt Judge, your John Murtough, your Richard Arnold, that, you know what, this is the problem. You guys are giving these guys too many. You're giving them the wages are too huge. Why are they on so many big wages? It's not good enough. It's not right. In order to restructure a club, this is where the wage structure needs to be reestablished. This is what Liverpool did. When they got rid of their owners, they reestablished the wage structure. They got rid of guys like Aquilani and all these other guys, and everyone else is now on wages. This is how basically this is basically how you restructure a club, guys. You have to, these players, in order to get players to perform and in order to keep them hungry at the highest level, you don't give them wages that are ridiculous. That's not how you reward them. You give them lower wages. You supplement them with bonuses in performances and in achievements, whether that's personal achievements or team achievements. That is included in the bonus to the initial wage that they're earning. That's how it should be. That's why Liverpool is where they are today. That is why Man City is where they are today. People are saying Man City do pay their players, but they don't pay them as ridiculously as we do. I don't know what we're doing at Man United, because I feel like, you know, we do. The only sense I could make from this, from a financial stance, is that these guys are paying. They're buying players for overinflated prices and giving them overinflated wages, because they want to say, okay, they want their asset to be at a higher value. If you understand me, if you understand accounting, that's how it works. Like, the more expensive players you have on your books, the more likely that the shares or the value of the club is going to be higher. If you've got lower people, let's say, for example, you've got players whose transfer values are very low at your football club, that transmits to the value of the football club in totality. So that's exactly, I think that's the only reason you could find why the board keeps making these decisions, where every player they buy, they just put them on high wages. Another thing that's obviously, that as I wrap up the show, we need to also make sure that just because obviously we can get the wage structure right, but we also need to establish this whole commercial thing, not mixing it with the football side of things. Man United have been a club that's always been called a circus, not just a circus. What do we call Golden City? Yeah, like the amusement park. That's what we've been known for. This is why Klopp rejected us the first. That's what, like, essentially that's what Klopp said why he rejected us. We're not a football run club. We're a business. And business has no place in football. If you're playing on the pitch, it's all about what you do. It's all about the right recruitment. It's all about this. So it's football, football, football. We need to learn to differentiate between the two, separate those two entities, because they cannot be overlapping over each other. We need to learn how to separate those two. Richard Arnold right now is the CEO, right? He has decided that he's going to try and hire football people to make the footballing decisions. which in turn will help business boom. Because if you're having people who know what they're doing in their job, it saves the club a lot of money. Because the money that has been wasted at this club, because we've been letting businessmen and bankers take over footballing decisions when they don't know anything about that, has resulted in us losing billions. If you're a billionaire and you're looking at your balance sheet, and you're seeing that you've lost billions because you've been putting the wrong people there, you should be making a change. This is why I really did not understand what the Glazers were trying to do, trying to take short corners, which inevitably costed them billions. Poor decisions lead to lead to you losing money, and it is what it is. Business is cutthroat. These guys need to be this sentimentality that we need to hire people. We need to hire people just because this person did this favor for me, did that favor for me, is the reason why a lot of corporations are falling today, and is the reason why a lot of shenanigans are happening in the world today. So at Man United, we need to make sure that we hire the best people in their best positions. We are one of the biggest clubs in the world, after all, and we can afford to hire the best people in those positions, the best people that know what they're doing. So yeah, I think that's what the club needs to do, and in whole, as well as Ten Hag needs to do. He needs to come in there. He needs to establish his authority from the get-go. And those players who are, who got us sacked, who got 3 managers sacked, basically, they need to. This is their time. Their time is over. This should be their time being over. This is a new revolution, and we can only hope and sit here thinking that this is going to go our way, thinking that all these 5 points will be implemented in order for us to move forward. Because you cannot overlook these 5 points. It doesn't matter. In any footballing structure, these 5 points exist. So yeah, man. Let's hope for the best. And yeah, this was the United Talk Show. And it's been a while since I've been back. I've been gone for some while, but yeah, man. I hope you guys share, like, subscribe. I'm moving my channel fully to YouTube. I'm probably gonna end this video right now, but you can always catch me on YouTube. It's Little Football TV on YouTube, so you can subscribe to that. My content is gonna be there all day, every day. So thanks for joining me, guys. Just leave a like and subscribe and to my channel on YouTube. And yeah, man, good content is coming your way. Thank you very much, guys.